Well, this polynomial is degree 3. So that means that there's going to be 3 zeros, or 3 solutions when you set the function equal to 0. So before I start doing the math, I want to take a look at the graph because they might all 3 be real numbers. Perhaps there's only 1 real number and then 2 imaginary numbers. And so I'll move over to the graphing calculator and go with y equals, and this was 2x is cubed minus 3x squared plus 18x and minus a 27. And then I can see that there's one place where the graph crosses the x-axis. That's at x equals 1.5. And I don't really see any others. So it probably only has one solution. But once we do the math, we're going to find out. So finding one solution from the calculator is important. We've got x equals 1.5. Then go back to our work. And so x equals 1.5 is a solution from the graph. If you are allergic to graphing calculators and you did not want to use a graphing calculator, then what you do is, I'll just do this real quick. So you take the first number and the last number, you look at their prime composition. So for 2, it's 1 times 2. And for 27, it's 3 times 3 times 3. And then you basically just take those numbers one at a time. So you pick one from 1 and 2, so just randomly pick one. And then you pick one from the second list. So let's say I do a 3, and then you say, well, maybe 2 over 3 is an answer, or maybe 3 over 2 is an answer. And then you would substitute those in the function and find out that it was actually this one that will make it equal to 0. But instead of doing all of that, we can use the graphing calculator as we did and start with x equals 1.5. That means that we can use division, and in fact I'm going to use synthetic division, and this will divide into, oops, I said synthetic division, and this means that it's going to actually divide evenly, so when we're done the remainder should be 0. So let's see, the coefficient for x cubed is a 2, then for x squared it's -3, and then it seems that there's no missing terms, so I don't have to put any zeros as placeholders. All right, then bring down the 2, multiply in this direction, so 1.5 times 2 is a 3, and then add that up to this, which actually is going to make 0. And then just repeat that process. Oops. Just repeat that process. So 1.5 times 0, that's 0. And then add that to the 18, which is not going to change the 18. And then 1.5 times 18 actually happens to be 27. And then you add that to -27. And so the remainder is 0, just as advertised. Woohoo, woohoo, yay. Okay, so since this started with x cubed and we just divided by an x, that means that this one is saying 2x squared. This one is saying you do not have any x's, and then there's a constant 18. And it's asking us to find out where this equals 0, so you could set it equal to 0. And then subtract 18 from both sides. So we've then got 2x squared equals a -18. And we only have 2 more steps. One is divide both sides by 2. So that leaves x squared equals a -9. And then take square root of both sides. And when you take square root of both sides, make sure you put plus or minus the square root of -9. And that means that we have 2 imaginary numbers plus and minus. The square root of 9 is 3. With it being a negative, it gives us 3i. And then I just bring down my first answer so that I have them all together, maybe throw in a little comma, circle it up, and it's done.